So most ecom brands waste 40% of their ad budget just based on setup alone. It's even before their customer hits their page, just because of confusion, lack of information, and all these other things. So last year in 2025, Meta rolled out the Andromeda update, which is its super cool machine learning AI stuff, and it rendered a lot of previous best practices totally obsolete. And so in 2026, a lot of how you target customers doesn't have to do with how you set up your account or your budgeting or how you target specifically in the settings, but how your creative is built. And so you need to be doing things that are around your ICP, doing your avatar research, thinking about what they care about, looking at your reviews and your competitors' reviews. So a lot of the hard lifting that used to be how you set up your campaign is now relatively straightforward, but there still is an optimal way to do it. And so today we're not going to cover too much theory, but we're going to dive right into a setup guide for how you can get your campaign structured and what I think is the optimal way. And so if you don't know me, my name's Nathan. I run HOSHINO Media. We're an agency that helps brands that sell online scale and grow. And so I've done this countless times for clients. And today I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. So we're going to start here really quick. This is just the structure that we have. Today we're probably going to look at the medium budget and go from there. So quick plug, we are actually going to do a breakdown of this and that will be published next week. And so it's a breakdown on our theory, why we set up campaigns the way we do, how to think in the minds of your customers. So if you're interested in that, like and subscribe to actually see it when it comes out. So here we are in a Meta ads account. This is just our internal ad account. This is just a demo. And so we don't really run too many ads through here, but I still want to show you how the setup works. And so very straightforward, we're going to start with create. And so once we're here, you can see a couple different options. And so you can choose a campaign objective as well as a buying type. 90% of the time, you're going to do auction. Reservation has some fringe cases in which you'll run it, but for the most part, we're really not going to do this. And so I would just keep it on auction and then choose a campaign objective. So briefly to summarize these, awareness is just to have people see your stuff that will remember it. Traffic is to get people to a destination like a landing page or a website. Engagement is for people who will like or follow you and they'll just respond to things. Not super great for sales or leads. Leads are to get contacts for your business. So if you run something that's service where you sell to people. App promotion, if you have an app and want people to download it. Sales is to get people to buy physical goods from your e-com store. And so 90% of the time, we're going to scrap traffic, engagement, and app promotion because these aren't helpful to your devices. We'll come back to awareness in a second because I think it's really, really good for broadening your scope and kind of showing your meta pixel, which is the behind the scenes data tracking to see who's interested in your stuff. Awareness is really good for warming that up, but it's not very good for getting sales or getting leads. And so today, we're just going to focus on sales, but the lead setup would be relatively the same. We're going to start here by clicking sales and clicking next. Again, you will almost never want to run a traffic campaign or an engagement campaign or an app promotion. Stick mainly to sales. This should get 80 to 95 to even 100% of your budget. So we will click continue. Meta does this really cool thing. It creates it all right away. Right here on the left, you'll see sales campaign, ad set, and new sales ad. We're just going to name it something that makes sense. So I'm just going to call it prospecting, and then we'll just call it an offer name. So new customers, 10% off, and then the date that we're actually going to run it, which is in July 2026. Now you'll see here our campaign score and this advantage sales campaign thing. Depending on when you see this video, this browser or this dashboard may look totally different. That's okay. Meta changes this all the time. You might actually see a manual setting. Meta with Andromeda is more and more rolling out this advantage sales campaign, but sometimes you may see manual. If you have that setting, I recommend if you are a newer account, so meaning if you haven't run a lot of ads, if you're not getting a ton of purchases a week, I would actually run a manual campaign. But if you're, big or you don't have that option, Advantage Sales campaign works fine. This campaign score will also increase and decrease as we make changes or as you plug in things. I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's Meta's best suggestion, but their best suggestion isn't always the best. And so we will get right into it. So live video ad, we're going to skip this because this is you actually going live and then broadcasting it. And most of the time you're not going to do that because we want to have a system that sells while you sleep. For here, buying type auction, campaign sales, campaign spending limit. So this is good if you want to say, hey, I want to spend $300 over the course of these 2 days, or I want to spend $1,000 over the next 2 days, right? If you have a set time you want to run your campaign for, this makes a ton of sense, especially if you're building around a holiday like Black Friday, right? You might run $1,000 a day for Black Friday and just go with that. But we're going to leave this off because we're building a campaign that'll just continue to run. Advantage plus catalog. So I typically keep this off. You can split test this, but it shows people ads directly from your Shopify library or your products list. I don't love this a ton and I don't trust it a ton. I'd rather just show the creatives I make, and so I keep this off. So now we get to budget. And CBO, which is campaign budget or ad set budget. Campaign budget, Meta looks at all your ads and all your ad sets and says, hey, these ads are performing best. I'm just going to split it up and send things here. I'm going to send money to the ads that deserve it. Meanwhile, ad set budget is better for testing, where you're like, hey, I want to look at these 10 ads and see which is the best. And so I will give them each a split of money. So, if we're running 10 ads on $1,000 a day, each ad will get $100 a day. And so that's a way you can split it up and test things very well. Typically, if you're smaller, so that tiny budget of $30 a day, or small of less than 100, or medium, less than 1,000, you won't really do ABO too much. It's just like not necessary, but it's there if you ever want to test things. And so we're going to set a daily budget. We'll just say $50. How this works is Meta will never spend more than $350 in a week, but it might spend 25 to 50% more per day if it thinks it can convert people. But it'll never spend over your budget times 7, which is the number of days in a week, in 1 week. Campaign strategy, we're going to leave this at highest volume. Eventually, once you have a lot of data on your pixel, then you can say, hey, I'm going to set a cost per result and make the algorithm work for it. And so if you know your cost per acquisition, which is how much it costs you to get a new customer, is like $30, you can set this and just say, hey, I'm going to set a cost per goal or a bid cap even. But for now, we'll just set highest volume. So show more settings. Nope. Budget selected. We are good. And then we'll go down. We can skip all this because if you're an e-com, usually you're not doing financial products, housing, social, or employment. We will click next. So here we are at the ad set level. And so the first setting we're going to see is customer lifestyle strategy. Basically, we want to ask the question, like, do we only want new customers, or do we want to get customers from all our audiences? So including people who follow us. For the sake of this, and typically you would want to do all audiences. I love it personally when someone who's bought from me comes back to buy from me again. They're the easiest people to sell to. It costs you 5 to 7 times less than actually getting a new customer. And so typically you want to do conversions from all audiences unless you have a specific niche you're testing, right? And so conversion location, we are going to do just our website. What this means is basically where a person gets sent to where we want to convert. I don't know why you would want to call for, an e-com brand, but sometimes you have website, sometimes you have your in-app experience. Like Meta has this Meta Shop thing that they do. I don't personally love it. I don't think you build a ton of trust. Things are a little bit different now and you can run it if you want. But I think sending people to your website is the most controlled way to test your site, to test your landing page, which we'll get to in a minute. Now that we're here, maximize number of conversions. These are other goals we can set, but it's just not worth it. Data set, choose the pixel you're running with. In conversion event, we want to always click purchase. You can again do add to cart, you can do initiate checkout, but the pixel and the algorithm will learn the best when someone purchases, because they'll go, this person purchased, I will go find someone else who looks like them. And so you will nearly always, 99% of the time, want to choose purchase. If you have it linked with your Shopify, you'll have conversion events. It'll be great. And so you can go from there. Attribution model, I would just keep this on standard, show more settings. I would keep these all as the same. Dynamic creative, I usually keep off. I think, Meta does this thing where it has this flexible media. It shows 10 ads at once. And the problem with that is, it it just burns them all out at once. If the ad doesn't perform, suddenly you fatigue, which means people get tired of your ad right away. You burn 10 creatives right away. I don't think it's worth it. I'd rather space things out and test things one by one. Here, you just don't have data for what Meta's doing. It's really hard to tell. So keep this off. Budget strategy, we're not doing anything different because this is CBO. So go down, show more settings. Perfect. So now we get to audiences. And you used to have to create this whole fancy targeting thing and create your lookalike audiences and all this. And in 2026 with Andromeda, the Meta AI is so smart, you don't need any of that. I still think if you are a brand, it is very important to create your audiences, but they're not the main thing that you're shooting for. You used to have this concept of swim lanes where you would target at people that were cold audiences and they're retargeting and then your customers. That's just not necessary anymore, but it's still really good to have audiences. Why? Because it warms up your pixel. If you're not on a big budget, it actually takes a lot of time and effort to warm up your pixel, meaning get it enough data to actually make good decisions. Inputting your audiences is a great way to tell Meta what's actually working already so it can go out and do the same thing. And so just to show you how to do this, you're going to hover over here and click audiences. This will take you to a tab like this where you can create your new audience. Super easy. I already have some built here, but create an audience. We'll do custom audiences. And then you can choose from your source. You can have website, you can have your Instagram profile. And so you'll want to have some from your website for purchases. You'll want to have your email list if you have that. You want to have your Instagram profile as well. So we're just going to do this. And so we're going to choose from my Instagram profile, people who have engaged with this for the last 180 days. And so audience name, Instagram, engagers, 180 days. And we will create this audience. Boom. I want you to repeat this for people who have purchased in the last 7 days, anybody who's visited your website, anybody who's added to cart, anybody who's on your email list, anybody who's engaged with your Instagram, because this is all valuable data that will kickstart our meta pixel. So now we'll actually go back, right? And so for our audiences, we can suggest an audience and we can say detailed targeting. You used to be able to put in people who like gym clothes or jewelry, right? I would nowadays just don't do this. Leave this out. It actually hinders the app and the Meta AI more than it helps you. Even with your custom audiences, it's just not worth it to have it in here if you're specifically targeting. We will use it at the next step when we get to the ads. And hey, really quick, if you are looking at this and your eyes are glazing over because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, I'd love to help you. My name's Nathan. I run HOSHINO Media. We do this all the time for brand selling online. If you're interested, you can click the link below, book a free audit with myself or my team. Select your advertiser, so who's actually going to pay for the ad. You'll go to placements and then account controls. Here, if you want, you can select which platforms on Meta you want to run ads on. Typically, I just leave all of them on and then over time start to adjust based on who is buying. Most of the time, Facebook and Instagram will always perform the best. But as a note, if you're doing pre-orders or pre-selling, you should not run ads on Facebook. They will send a survey out after someone buys and they're like, hey, did you have a good experience? And they didn't get their product yet. So they'll be like, no, I had a terrible experience. And then your ad account will get hit. So just not worth it. For most cases, just leave it on for all these, but you can turn it off and just run Instagram if you're doing like a pre-drop or something. So we're just going to keep these on for now and then go to the next step. Now we are in the actual sales ad. And so I'd give it a name that makes sense. So maybe we're doing UGC, 10% off. If you are running a partnership ad, which is you are a creator who runs a brand, or you're a brand that has hired a creator to make an ad, you can turn this on. It's super helpful. You'll either select a partnership with someone that exists and runs it, or you will enter their ad code. The benefit of this showing is basically you show multiple identities. And so you can say this ad is by this creator or it's by your personal profile. You can either choose in between them or you can choose to run both of them and it kind of switches. And so this is really good because it looks more like an organic post. And the more the ad looks like an organic post, the more likely it is to convert. So I think it's great if you're running influencer marketing or if you are a creator with a really big following, makes a ton of sense. I would totally do it. For the sake of this video, we're just going to leave this off and go from there. We're going to use my Instagram profile and Facebook page. You want to have both of these. And if you don't have them, you can connect them in your business manager. Why you need these is because if you don't have the Instagram profile, it's going to send you to the Facebook page or a generic page for the customer, and it just is a bad experience. You want this because when someone clicks on your ad, they look at your profile and they're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense, right? This social proof, I see all these pretty images, makes a ton of sense. I will go to their page and buy something. So you want to do this and keep going. Create an ad, we'll just choose manual upload. You can choose a single image or video, or you can choose a carousel ad. I find usually that image or video performs the best. It gets the best amount of sales. You do typically way better. But if you're wanting to run a carousel, like by all means, go and test it. So we're going to choose single image. We are going to keep this on, website and website URL. This is where you plug in your product page or your main landing page. I would have a little bit of both. So some ads running to the product page and others running to the landing page, especially if your ad is more around you as a brand as opposed to you as a specific product, then I would run to the page. So we're just going to say for this ad in .com, you can choose to add a display link, doesn't really matter. And so here I would actually turn optimize website destination off. I would turn shop off. I would turn product browsing and browser add-ons off. Why I do this is because Meta will just start to plug in their own things, and we are crafting a very select funnel here. We're not trying to send anybody to wherever, we're trying to send them to one funnel that we build ourselves. If I build an ad that shows piece number 1 and they click piece number 1, I always want them to go to that page. And so I just don't think this makes a lot of sense. This shop runs Meta Shop. Again, I have mixed feelings about it. It's better now, but not great. So I'd rather just use my funnel. Product browsing is the only one I would actually consider. This kind of shows like all your different products below your ad, and it's sometimes worth it. I don't always run it, and just cool. So here we can select an image or a video. I think video usually performs better, but I would still test them both, especially if you're on a small budget. For this, we are just going to do an image ad. I'm just going to select this one. We'll just run with this, right? Promotions, if you are running a promo code on your Shopify, it'll sync here. It's super great. Branding, this is just who you are. You can kind of ignore this. Site links, I like to have some of these. And so if you want us to like route to other products, this is a great way to do it. And you can set thumbnail images, but for the most part, you can just go directly in. Crop this. We are going to select 9:16 and original. We'll switch it here and we will set text. Primary text is not as important nowadays, but it's a great way still to plug what you're doing. And so you can just input whatever you want. The best shirts I've ever worn. I get compliments all the time. And then take 10% off when you use code summer 10. And so you can fill this in. I would have multiple different primary text for testing. I would just fill all of these in because it doesn't hurt to test them. And so your call to action, you will always want to do shop now. Doesn't make sense to do anything else. Image generation is Meta's new thing they're pushing, and they just show a bunch of lifestyle images on how it looks and how it runs. And personally, I think in highly visual niches, so like clothing or jewelry or skincare, like this does not make sense unless you're just doing of the product. They tend to butcher things. Like this just kind of looks fake and like just cheesy. I wouldn't have this. Sometimes I've seen the hands are warped and it just looks bad. I would just skip all the image generation. But enhancements is a different story. I would think about this, and because Meta just tests these and sees which one does better. I'd keep flex media off. Visual touch-ups, yeah, you can do this if you want. Just makes things think like it's adding a filter. And so that is one ad created. And then we can see kind of how it looks. So the best shirts I've ever worn, I get compliments all the time. We're going to skip all of this and we can build a URL. I like this for testing and tracking where people came from. You don't need to do this, but campaign ID, campaign placements, campaign name, and the actual ad ID, and click apply. If you have other static ads and you're like, hey, I really like the copy I wrote here, I just want to use this again, great. You can do quick duplicate or quickly duplicate. That just duplicates the ad in the actual ad set. Super quick. We will ignore this because we're just going to add a video in a second, and we're here. So we'll scroll up and select the single image video, and we are actually going to delete this and add a video because we have a different set of parameters now that we're doing this. Great. So we are going to use this video and go. This is the same. We're not going to trim the video length. I would keep 9:16 always. It's just the best format to do. It shows up on mobile the best. So just keep that. Set text. Image generation for the video. We are not going to touch any of this. Again, like, look how bad this looks. Like, what is this? Just no, not worth it. This just looks fake, not worth it. So enhancements for our video, you'll see different ones here. It just depends on what you're doing. So you can turn these on or off if you think it's too cheesy and click done. And once we're all done, we will actually go up and preview to publish, and we will publish this whole darn thing. And that is 2 ads done. And so you will want to build out this ad set. So I would just put all your ads in this one ad set. If you are on a small or tiny or medium ad budgets, I would just keep it all consolidated here. But one thing we're going to talk about is awareness campaigns. And so I would actually, if you are on a medium budget, so think over $100 a day, under $1,000 a day, I would create this. This is super helpful just in terms of showing your brand to new people. And I would maybe run 5% of your total budget here. Just turn this off, A/B test. Very straightforward, very similar thing we're doing. But so you can either choose to maximize reach your ads or through play videos. Through play videos is kind of like how many people watch your ad all the way through. Very helpful to seeing how an ad works. And then you can build an audience around this. I think for now, we're just going to do maximize reach. Bid strategy, highest, we'll cap it, and then just set a daily budget, go down, select advertiser, very similar setup to the last thing we saw. And then you can select the images or videos that you're going to use. Typically what I recommend here is testing different angles that are more around your brand. So things like founder story or brand story or what you're working on. These all work really well as awareness ads because it makes people more aware of who you are. And so you can set this all, and then if you want, you can send people to your Instagram or your website, just kind of based up to you. If you're doing this at a really high level, you'll have different landing pages to send people to. And so they have this really nice experience just to learn more about your brand, and you can publish this once you're done. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is how to actually read your metrics. For here, we ran this for 6 days just to test. So we ran this for just a couple days just to test how things were. We really didn't want to rock the boat too much, just getting some data, right? And so here right away, you can see we have 2 purchases, which is good, the amount spent, the number of impressions, and frequency. If you see frequency in the 3 to 5 range, that's very bad because it means people are seeing your ad way too many times and you want to kill your ad. If it's below 3, hey, fair game. 3-second video plays is a metric that says how good is your hook. If you have above 20%, it means, well, 20% of people who saw your ad actually waited for 3 seconds of the video to actually play. The higher this is, the better it is because it means your ad and your hook is actually interesting. Click-through rate. What percentage of people who see your ad are actually clicking it? The higher the better. You're shooting for 1.5%. CPM, which means your cost per 1,000 impressions. The lower the better. Link clicks, click-through rate, cost per landing page. You can look at how many add to carts and your cost per add to cart, your checkout initiated, and so much more. You can track ROAS and more. It's really, really helpful. And so this is all to give you decision-making data. In general, the lower this is, the better. If you have a very low CPM, a very high click-through rate, so say like this one was 4.68%, very low cost per click, which is great, in sending people to the site. However, our cost per add to cart is a little high. So, we're noting that. And our cost per checkout initiated is $43. That's okay because it all comes down to cost per purchase and your cost per acquisition, right? If an ad is converting, all these metrics are kind of thrown out the window and we just look at cost per acquisition. Obviously, the better this is, the lower it is, like the better, right? But if an ad is converting, I typically don't shut it off. I leave it on and let it sit and think about what to do with it. CPM, CTR, frequency, reach, all these are efficiency metrics. Your cost of acquisition is a hard metric you want to look at. So a couple other things I wanted to mention. If you are really struggling on ad creative is everything. It's how you target. It's how you make decisions. It's how you speak to your customers. If you're really struggling on how to build creative, super easy. I'm just going to do this really quick. You can actually start in the facebook.com/ads/library. This is our ad library of everything, all their ads that are running and not running. And so you can look through and see, hey, what's working well? Well, real personalized gift, this has been running for 819 days. Typically, the longer an ad runs, the better it is, the more, because, who would leave on an unprofitable ad? So you can look at this, see what's cool about it, and then copy it for yourself. You can keep going through, and maybe we'll just look at necklaces, or we'll see really cool offers. So you can start to get inspiration on what's working. From there, you can go into Canva. This is just a Figma jam board that I'm using, and we can just create different ads or concepts. I always recommend doing it in 9:16 format. So that's 1080 by 1920p. And you can just get a bunch of ads really quick and make them and test them. Super, super easy. So you have endless amounts of creatives to test. So this is how to build a campaign and set it up in the Meta Ads Manager. Super straightforward, but if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if you want more strategy and theory on how to run the best campaigns possible, I recommend clicking this video right here.